I stood in the hallway outside the Grandview Hotel ballroom, watching the wedding coordinator check her seating chart for the third time. My sister Jessica's wedding was 30 minutes from starting, and apparently my assigned table was causing problems. "I'm so sorry about this," the coordinator said, not meeting my eyes. "There's been a change. You're no longer at table 6. Where am I sitting?" She hesitated. "Table 18. In the back area. Near the kitchen entrance." I didn't need to ask why. Jessica had made her feelings clear at last night's rehearsal dinner. "I can't have my single, unemployed sister at a prominent table, Natalie. Looks bad. All my important guests are bringing successful partners. You're 31 and alone. It's embarrassing." What Jessica didn't know was that I wasn't unemployed. I'd left my State Department job 6 months ago because I'd been recruited as Senior Diplomatic Liaison for the President's National Security Council. The position required absolute discretion. I'd signed NDAs that made classified clearance look casual. I coordinated with foreign dignitaries, managed sensitive international relationships, and briefed the president's senior staff on global security matters. I'd had dinner at the White House 4 times in 2 months. But I couldn't tell anyone until my appointment was publicly announced next month. Jessica Saul left my job and not dating anyone, and decided I was a failure. She'd spent 6 months making comments about my situation, and how I needed to get my life together. Our mother had joined in, worried I was wasting my potential. None of them had asked what I was actually doing. "Table 18 is fine," I told the coordinator. The ceremony was beautiful. Jessica looked stunning, marrying Dylan, whose family owned luxury hotels. I sat in the back row behind a pillar that partially blocked my view. Jessica had assigned ceremony seats too, ensuring important people had the best sight lines. The reception began with cocktail hour in the garden. I nursed champagne and made small talk with distant cousins. Jessica floated through the crowd, stopping to chat with every important guest, pointedly bypassing me. Dylan's mother Charlotte found me near the hors d'oeuvres. "You must be Natalie, Jessica's sister. I'm so sorry about your employment situation. Jessica mentioned you've been struggling. If you need references for administrative positions, Dylan's hotel chain is always hiring front desk staff." "That's kind of you," I said neutrally. "It must be difficult being single and unemployed at your age. But don't give up hope." She patted my arm and moved on to greet more important guests. I checked my phone discreetly. 3 urgent messages from my NSC assistant. A situation was developing in Southeast Asia that required my attention. I'd need to make calls after dinner. "Ladies and gentlemen, please find your seats," the coordinator announced. I made my way to table 18, tucked in the back corner near the kitchen doors. My table mates were Jessica's college roommate's boyfriend, 2 of Dylan's distant cousins, and several people who seemed equally confused about their placement. The main tables were front and center. Jessica and Dylan's table was on a raised platform, surrounded by family and VIP guests. My parents sat at table 2 with Dylan's parents and business partners. Table 18 was where you put people you had to invite but didn't want anyone to notice. Dinner service began at the front tables. We watched waiters deliver the first course to the VIP section while we waited. And waited. "I think they forgot about us," Dylan's cousin muttered after 20 minutes. Then I heard the commotion at the entrance. Raised voices. The coordinator looking panicked. And then I saw them. 2 men in dark suits with earpieces scanning the room. Secret Service. Build up. The music stopped. Conversations died as everyone turned to look. The Secret Service agents were speaking urgently with the coordinator, who kept shaking her head and gesturing at her seating chart. Then he walked in. Andrew Morrison. The president's son. I'd worked with Andrew twice in the past month. He served as a special advisor on youth policy and occasionally sat in on NSC briefings. He was professional, intelligent, and dedicated to public service despite constant media scrutiny. He was supposed to be in California this weekend. Our eyes met across the ballroom. He smiled, his real smile, not his public one, and started walking toward me. The Secret Service agents flanked him, and every person in the room watched him cross the ballroom, past the VIP tables, past my parents, past Jessica's raised platform. He walked straight to table 18. "Natalie," he said warmly. "I'm so sorry I'm late. The summit ended early and I couldn't miss your sister's wedding." The ballroom went completely silent. 300 guests stared. Jessica's face had gone white. Charlotte looked struck. My mother's mouth hung open. Andrew, I managed. I didn't expect. You said you couldn't make it. I couldn't miss it. Not after you invited me 3 months ago. He looked at the table at the kitchen doors behind us, understanding immediately. This is your assigned table? Yes. Interesting. He turned to the Secret Service agents. This is Natalie Chen. We'll be staying at this table. The coordinator rushed over, nearly tripping. Mr. Morrison, I apologize. There's been a terrible mistake. We have a place of honor prepared at the main table. If you'll just follow me. I'm perfectly comfortable here, Andrew said pleasantly. Natalie invited me as her guest. I'll sit at her table. Jessica appeared, wedding smile stretched tight. Andrew, Mr. Morrison, we're honored by your presence. But really you should be seated with the family. With the important guest. Not back here. Natalie is family, isn't she? Andrew's tone was polite but steel underneath. Your sister? Surely that makes this a family table. Well, yes, but, Jessica floundered. We just thought with Natalie's current situation. Her current situation, Andrew repeated. You mean her position as senior diplomatic liaison for the National Security Council? That situation. The silence deepened. Dylan had joined Jessica. I'm sorry, did you say National Security Council? I did. Natalie has been serving in the White House for 6 months. She coordinates with foreign heads of state, manages sensitive diplomatic relationships, and briefs the president's senior staff regularly. She has higher security clearance than most generals. Andrew smiled at me. She's also the person who made sure our recent negotiations with 3 Southeast Asian nations didn't collapse. The president personally thanked her at last week's briefing. My mother had stood up from table 2. Natalie works at the White House? She does. For 6 months. Her appointment will be publicly announced next month. But given the circumstances, I think the secrecy has outlived its usefulness. He looked at Jessica. You seated her in the back. Near the kitchen. Because you thought she was unemployed and unsuccessful. Charlotte found her voice. But Jessica said she told us Natalie was struggling, unemployed. I left state because I was recruited for something bigger, I said quietly. But I couldn't tell anyone due to NDAs and security protocols. Jessica never asked what I was doing. She just assumed. You let us think you were failing, Jessica said, voice rising. You let Mom worry. I tried to tell you I was fine. Multiple times. You didn't want to hear it. The Secret Service agents took positions near our table, which meant the president's son was officially staying in the back corner. Wedding photographers were taking pictures. Recognizing this was the story now. Dylan's father approached, businessman's smile in place. Mr. Morrison, surely you'd be more comfortable at a better table. We can rearrange. I'm comfortable here, Andrew said. Though I'm curious why Natalie was seated here. She invited me 3 months ago. When I RSVP'd, I indicated I'd be attending as her guest. The invitation was sent to the White House. The coordinator checked her tablet, fingers shaking. Yes, we received the RSVP. From a White House email. We thought it was a prank. You thought the president's son RSVPing was a prank, Andrew said. And rather than verify, you ignored it? Jessica told us to ignore it, the coordinator said quickly. She said her sister didn't know anyone important. All eyes turned to Jessica. I didn't think, Jessica started. You didn't think your unemployed sister could possibly know the president's son, Andrew finished. So when his office RSVP'd, you dismissed it rather than considering you might not know everything about her life. My mother had made her way over. Natalie, sweetheart, why didn't you tell us? I tried, Mom. Last month I mentioned international negotiations. You told me to stop daydreaming and find a real job. At Christmas I said I'd been briefing senior officials. You asked if I meant the manager at wherever I was working. But the White House. I signed legally binding confidentiality agreements. I couldn't discuss my work until my appointment was publicly announced. The penalties included criminal prosecution and termination. Andrew's phone buzzed. He smiled slightly. The press has picked this up. President's son refuses VIP seating to stay with White House staffer in back corner. It's trending. Jessica looked like she might cry. Her perfect wedding, her strategic seating chart. all upstaged by the sister she'd hidden in the back. The White House press office is requesting a statement, Andrew continued. They want to confirm your appointment early. Are you comfortable with that, Natalie? I nodded. Then it's official. Natalie Chen's position as Senior Diplomatic Liaison for the National Security Council is public knowledge. He looked at Jessica. Congratulations on your wedding. I'm sure it will be remembered. Dinner service finally reached our table. First, because the Secret Service had informed catering they needed to serve the president's son immediately. We ate while the rest of the ballroom whispered and stared. Charlotte approached again, earlier condescension replaced with desperate networking energy. Natalie, I hope there are no hard feelings. Perhaps we could discuss opportunities. Dylan's hotels do international business and having White House connections. I don't use my position to facilitate private business, I said. That would violate ethics rules. She retreated, deflated. The rest of the reception was surreal. Guests who'd ignored me during cocktail hour now wanted to talk. Jessica and Dylan cut their cake with forced smiles while photographers captured the president's son at table 18. My father pulled me aside during dancing. I'm sorry, Nat. For not believing in you, for not asking better questions. Your mother and I are proud of you. We should have said that 6 months ago. Jessica approached as the reception wound down, makeup streaked with tears. You ruined my wedding. I didn't do anything, Jess. You seated me in the back, assumed I was unsuccessful, and dismissed a White House RSVP because you couldn't imagine I might know important people. Your assumptions ruined your wedding, not me. You could have told me before today. I tried. You didn't want to hear it. And legally I couldn't give you details. Andrew and I left before the send-off. The Secret Service swept us out a side entrance while photographers shouted questions. I'm sorry about the media circus, I said in the car. Not your fault. People like your sister need to learn that success doesn't always look the way they expect. That someone working quietly in public service might be more important than all their society connections combined. The story dominated news for 3 days. I gave one official interview explaining that public service often requires discretion and sacrifice, including letting family misunderstand your choices. Jessica sent one text a week later. I'm sorry. I should have known you better. I didn't respond. Some relationships take time to repair. My official appointment was announced the following month. The ceremony was attended by senior officials, foreign ambassadors, and my parents, who finally understood what I'd been building. Table 18 became shorthand in political circles for underestimating someone based on appearances. I received dozens of messages from people who'd been dismissed, thanking me for highlighting that value isn't always visible. I kept working, kept negotiating, kept managing crises most people would never know about. The wedding incident faded from news cycles. But I never forgot the lesson. That success built on competence and discretion is worth more than success built on appearances. That real power doesn't need a prominent seat. It commands respect wherever it sits. And that sometimes, the person everyone dismisses in the back corner is the most important person in the room.
The morning of my wedding dawned bright and clear, but my stomach was in knots. Not from the usual pre-wedding jitters, but because I knew what was coming. My family would be there, and they never missed an opportunity to remind me of my perceived failures. I stood in the modest bridal suite of the local country club, smoothing down my simple white dress. It wasn't a designer label or dripping with crystals, but it was elegant and exactly what I wanted. My best friend Kate adjusted my veil, her eyes meeting mine in the mirror. You look beautiful, Sophia, she said firmly, reading the anxiety on my face. Don't let them get to you today. I forced a smile, but we both knew who them meant. The Martinez family, my family, where success was measured only by the size of your house and the brand of your car. Where my sister Isabella's job as vice president at Martinez Technologies made her the golden child, while my own achievements remained carefully hid. A knock at the door made me flinch. Sophia, are you decent? My mother's voice carried that familiar note of disappointment she perfected over the years. Come in, Mom. She entered, wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than my entire wedding budget. Her eyes swept over me, cataloging every detail she found lacking. Behind her, Isabella sauntered in, draped in haute couture. Oh, Sophia, my mother sighed, shaking her head. Couldn't you have at least tried to find something more suitable? This looks like it came from a department store. It's perfect for her, Mother, Isabella smirked. After all, what else can you expect from someone who works as a business consultant? She made air quotes around my job title. At least James loves her enough to marry her, despite everything. If they only knew. If they had any idea that my consulting work was actually running Phoenix Industries, one of the largest technology consulting firms in the country. The same company their precious Martinez Technologies was desperately trying to secure a contract with. But they didn't know. Nobody did. I'd built my company from the ground up using a different name, keeping my success hidden for years. Even my fiancé James had only learned the truth a month ago. The ceremony starts in an hour, my mother announced. Try not to embarrass us too much, Sophia. The Martinez name still means something, even if you never lived up to it. After they left, Kate squeezed my shoulder. Just a few more hours, then you can tell them everything. I nodded, touching the simple pearl necklace at my throat. The only piece of jewelry I wore besides my engagement ring. They're in for quite a surprise. The ceremony itself was beautiful in its simplicity. James waited for me at the altar, his eyes shining with love and knowledge of what was to come. We'd planned this carefully, timing everything perfectly. At the reception it started. My family worked the room, making sure everyone knew which Martinez daughter was the successful one. Isabella held court at her table, loudly discussing her latest business acquisition. Of course, once Martinez Technology secures the Phoenix contract, we'll be unstoppable, she boasted. I'm meeting their CEO next week. It's practically a done deal. I checked my watch. Right on time, my phone buzzed. I excused myself from the table, giving James a subtle nod. Poor Sophia, I heard Isabella say as I walked away. She can't even afford a proper wedding. Did you see that dress? And this venue? So quaint. My mother chimed in. At least she found someone to marry her. Though I don't know how they'll survive on her tiny consultant salary. I stepped outside just as the sound of jet engines filled the air. Heads turned as my private jet, emblazoned with the Phoenix Industries logo, made a perfect landing on the country club's private airstrip. James appeared at my side, taking my hand. Ready? I squared my shoulders, feeling the weight of years of dismissal and degradation fall away. It's time. We walked back into the reception hall, where my family was clustered by the windows, staring at the jet. Isabella's face had gone pale. That's the Phoenix Industries jet, she stammered. What is it doing here? I cleared my throat, and the room fell silent. I have an announcement to make. Every eye turned to me as I stood in the center of the room, no longer the disappointing daughter, but the CEO I truly was. The next few minutes would change everything, and I was ready. I believe we have a meeting scheduled next week, Isabella, I said calmly. But since we're all here now, why don't we discuss that contract you're so certain about? The color drained from her face as understanding slowly dawned. Behind her, my mother grabbed the back of a chair for support. No, Isabella whispered. It's not possible. But it was. And now they would finally learn just how possible it was. The silence in the reception hall was deafening. I could almost hear the wheels turning in Isabella's head as she tried to process what was happening. My mother's perfectly maintained composure cracked, her champagne glass trembling in her manicured hand. You're saying... Isabella couldn't even finish the sentence. Sophia Martinez Chen, CEO of Phoenix Industries, I stated clearly, my voice carrying across the stunned room. Though you might know me better as SB Chen, the mysterious founder you've been desperately trying to meet. My father, who had been quietly standing in the corner all evening, suddenly stepped forward. This is impossible. Phoenix Industries is a multi-billion-dollar company. You're just a consultant. I smiled, remembering all the times they dismissed my little consulting business over family dinners. Would you like to see my business card? Or perhaps the company ownership documents? I'm sure Isabella has them somewhere in her pitch folder. Isabella's face flushed red. She had indeed brought her business materials to my wedding, hoping to network with guests. Now that same folder felt like evidence of her unwitting humiliation. The jet, my mother whispered, still staring out the window at the gleaming aircraft with my company's logo, is mine, I confirmed, along with the other 12 in our fleet, and the building your company is trying to lease for its new headquarters. I own that too. The memories flooded back, every dismissive comment, every mockery of my career choices, every family gathering where I was treated like a cautionary tale while Isabella was praised as the model of success. 10 years ago, I continued, my voice steady. When I left Martinez Technologies to start my own business, you told everyone I failed, that I couldn't handle the pressure of a real job. What you didn't know was that I'd already secured contracts with 3 major tech companies under my business alias. James stood beside me, his hand supportive on my back. He discovered my secret when his investment firm tried to acquire a controlling interest in Phoenix Industries. Instead of being angry at my deception, he understood why I kept it hidden. The consulting firm you all mocked, it was just a front. Every time you bragged about Martinez Technology's success, Isabella, my company was actually providing the software infrastructure you depended on through shell corporations. Those breakthrough innovations you took credit for? They came from my development team. Isabella sank into a chair, her designer dress crumpling. The Phoenix contract, we need it. The board is counting on it. Without it, Martinez Technologies will lose its market position within 6 months. I finished for her. I know, I've seen your financials. My mother finally found her voice. Why didn't you tell us? We're family. The word family sparked something in me, years of pent-up emotions finally breaking free. Family? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Was it family when you told my college counselor not to waste time on my applications because I'd never amount to anything? Was it family when you excluded me from business dinners because I'd embarrass you? Or perhaps it was family when you told James's parents that they should reconsider the marriage because I couldn't provide the lifestyle they were accustomed to. Kate appeared at my side, handing me a folder. Inside were photos, documents, and emails. A decade's worth of evidence showing how I'd built my empire while my family was busy underestimating me. Your company needs this contract, I said, addressing Isabella directly. But Phoenix Industries has a strict policy against toxic corporate culture. And from what my team has observed, Martinez Technologies has some serious issues in that department. Isabella's face went from red to white. She knew exactly what I meant. Her management style was notorious for its brutality. However, I continued, I'm willing to offer you a different deal, one that could save the company, but with some significant changes in leadership. My father stepped forward, his business instincts kicking in. What kind of changes? Complete restructuring of the executive board, new management policies, and Isabella. I turned to my sister, who couldn't meet my eyes. You'll need to step down as VP. The gasps around the room were audible. Isabella jumped to her feet. You can't do this. Daddy, tell her she can't do this. But our father was a businessman first. He could see the writing on the wall. She can, and she has every right to. The question is, why would you help us at all? I looked around the room at my gathered family members, the aunts, uncles, and cousins who had witnessed years of my humiliation. They were all watching now, their expressions a mix of shock, embarrassment, and dawning respect. Because despite everything, Martinez Technologies was our grandfather's legacy. He built it from nothing, just like I built Phoenix. I won't let it fail. I paused, letting my words sink in. But I won't let it continue to be a monument to arrogance and cruelty either. I nodded to James, who began distributing sealed envelopes to key family members. Inside, you'll find the terms of Phoenix Industries' proposed restructuring of Martinez Technologies. You have until Monday to decide. My mother stood frozen, the envelope trembling in her hands. All this time, all these years. Yes, I said simply. All these years, you had 2 successful daughters. You just couldn't see past your own prejudices to recognize it. I turned to the rest of our wedding guests, many of whom were watching the scene unfold with rapt attention. Now, I believe this is still a celebration. James and I would love for you all to join us on our private island for the reception continuation. The jet can accommodate 30 passengers per trip. As if on cue, the wedding planner began coordinating with guests for the transfers. My family remained rooted in place, still processing everything that had happened. Isabella finally spoke, her voice small. The contract was never real, was it? You never intended to give it to us. No, I confirmed. But this offer is real. It's your chance to be part of something better. Your choice. I took James's hand and turned to leave for the jet. My father's voice stopped me. Sophia, I'm sorry. I looked back at him, seeing for the first time something I'd always wanted to see, respect. I know, Dad, Monday morning, 9 a.m. Don't be late. As James and I walked out to the waiting jet, I heard the whispers behind us, felt the stares. But for the first time in my life, They didn't hurt. I finally shown them who I really was, not the person they'd chosen to see. Kate caught up with us at the jet's stairs. That was epic. But what happens now? I smiled, looking back at the country club where my family was still huddled, their world thoroughly shaken. Now, now they learn that success isn't measured by how well you can tear others down, but by how many people you can lift up. James squeezed my hand as we boarded the jet, ready for the next chapter. I looked out the window at my assembled guests, my shell-shocked family, and the future stretching out before us. More than ready. After all, success is the best revenge. The jet engines roared to life, and as we took off into the sunset, I knew that my wedding day had become something more than just a celebration of love. It had become the day I finally stepped out of the shadows and into my own light. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in keeping secrets, but in choosing the perfect moment to reveal them. And as my family would soon learn, this was just the beginning of their education in what true success looks like.